Quotations from myself, segment 28. Quotation number 309. To have a peace of mind, we ought to associate with those who are like us as far as their position in social hierarchy, income level, education, etc. are concerned. For the ignorance, to paraphrase the famous adage of the fact that somebody else is better or better off than we are, must be a blessing. And neither it is satisfactory to find ourselves too often surrounded by one's inferiors, at least not in the long run. For the initial and admittedly pleasant feeling of superiority is usually short-lived and very soon begins to be displaced by gnawing doubts in one's self-worth, which, if articulated, would sound something like, if I am so superior to all these people around me, why am I always with them and not with my equals? Number 310. The almost religious belief in the myth of progress, namely that the things could always be made better, has been a mixed blessing and in more than a few cases a different curse of the 20th century. Many nations have been sacrificed on this altar of modern Janus, facing the flesh-devouring Moloch instead of Demeter, the bestower of abundance and knowledge. The African continent has been devastated, the Soviet Union disintegrated, the list can go on, all because people could not accept the simple and unsparing truth that sometimes the way things are is the best possible way they could ever be, and the desire aroused by the belief in progress and efforts to improve them would only lead to a disaster. Number 311. Nothing unites people as strongly as having the common enemy. Often the enemy has to be invented to maintain unity and to prevent fratricides. Nationalism is the unity of this kind. 312. Those who live by the word run the risk of being destroyed by the word. 313. If we agree that there are no two persons who are completely alike, and we have to, for even the identical twins have some differences, more so we have to say yes to a proposition that each country or each nation is, in a certain sense, also unique. Its uniqueness is a product of many things, but first of all of its unique history. And the history of a nation will inevitably find its reflection in the character of its individual representative, in a similar manner as a personal history, which is a part of it, shape a person's character as well. It is in this sense that notion of national character can be legitimately used, and the general statement like, there is a prophet in every Jew, or a lawyer in every Englishman, or artist in every Italian, or a martyr in every Russian, etc., would be partly valid. 314. The pluralistic liberal democracy, as long as it is true to its basic principles, is powerless against the forces of nationalism. 315. When the amount of information starts to exceed the human capacity to absorb it, the information, instead of uniting people, begins to divide them. 3.16. Fashionable clothes and matching colors befitting the wearer would be aesthetically pleasing, but trying to match in a similar manner the topic of conversation, the idea expressed, if any, even the very grammar of discourse to follow the prevalent intellectual fashion is unimaginative, dull, and tasteless. 3.17. The modern poetry too often sounds like a bad translation from a foreign language. It conveys at best the literal meaning while being stripped of poetic form, rhythm and music, of the aesthetic beauty of the original. 3.18. Even the most subjectively neutral and seemingly innocuous means may be used to achieve the most subjectively insidious and prejudicial ends, as in the case of diminution by definition or negation by classification, both representing quite often the more or less thinly disguised attempt to reduce multifaceted and complex individual personality of phenomenon to an abstract, rigid, and invariably stereotypical caricature. 3.19. Men believe what they want to believe in and cannot be convinced otherwise, unless they want to be convinced otherwise. People listen to others, read books and newspapers, watch TV, not to have their belief challenged, but to have them reaffirmed. The basis of one's belief is one's psychological needs, which defy facts, reason, and logic when feel threatened. Whatever our beliefs are, we believe because we want to believe, because we need to believe. 3.20. Where we as individuals are tired, we stop pretending and begin to act naturally. At this time we are more apt to tell the truth and are more willing to hear it from the others. Similarly, a country as a whole can also experience such period of profound fatigue, when its citizens collectively stop pretending and begin to tell the truth and listen to it. Those usually are not the happy times, for all previously pent-up grievances, frustration and anger burst out like of water through the broken dam. The truth brings disillusionment, the disillusionment rage, the rage leads to destruction. And only after that a society, out of sheer desire to go on, starts to rebuild a new illusion, new myth, new hopes, out of the old brick salvage from the ruins. 3.21. The hour of the United States alleged victory of the Soviet Union in the Cold War may very well prove to be an occasion of America's defeat, the beginning of its demise. For it may now face the fate of an army which, having destroyed its enemy so completely that it could never going to rise again, might be destroying the process, the very reason for its own existence. Assuming, with the ample reason, that the main justification of the American predominance in the post-Second World War period was her role as a bulwark of the bold capitalist and mandate of private property, free enterprise, so to speak, against the threat of communism. Now that this threat has gone, at least for the time being, United States are going to be treated, not right away, but gradually, of course, as anybody else, that is without specific and special consideration of privileges. In this new world order of more or less free and peaceful economic and political competition, America's military might, and especially possession of huge nuclear arsenal, instead of giving it any advantage, is, more likely than not, going to hang like proverbial albatross over her neck. 322. Man is perpetually oscillating between the two contrary or maybe even contradictory poles, the individuality and collectivity. He would like both to maintain his uniqueness and at the same time to belong to the group. Thus, the preferable position, of course, would be in the middle, in a state of equilibrium, albeit in an unstable one. Similarly, nationalism and internationalism, as familiar expression, first of individuality of a particular nation, and second of collectivity of all nations, could be viewed as the two opposite states of mind any specific nation constantly finds itself in. Today, when the objective historical process leads apparently to the global village, that is collectivity, the predominant nature of reaction understandably is a nationalistic one, that is toward individuality. Yet the confinement in the closed national state produces in its turn another diametrically opposed reaction, the desire to join humanity as a whole. As a result, this emotional pendulum swings constantly between the longing for unity and desire for separateness. And the farther it moves in one direction, the stronger is the pull toward the opposite one. The only thing which is permanent is the movement. Finally, the more a society oscillates between these two extremes, the more it is prone to the drastic and violent changes. Accordingly, those who stay closer to the middle are more stable and peaceful. 323. Only after accepting that his own and of those most close to him people, like his parents and children, death is not a tragedy, but a perfectly normal and inevitable event, will man make peace with life. For only after reconciling himself to death can a man freely embrace life. 324. Oh, how to describe the disappointment of a man who has finally reached the promised land and found there nothing but promises, promises, promises. 325. The moment she looked at herself in the mirror, it was alive at the first sight.